Hi everybody, my name is Vanessa Lech, and today's video is going to be about veterans, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs surveys, like the one I got right here today in the mail, as well as burn pits. It's going to cover something I'm going to cover pretty extensively today on this live stream on LinkedIn and YouTube. So I have a popular YouTube channel you can subscribe to, you can check out. There's actually more information thanks to the character limit is larger on my YouTube channel than in LinkedIn right now where I'm streaming from. So you can actually see more of the stuff I'm talking about today there than on LinkedIn platform. I think LinkedIn's great. I stream there. I'm streaming there right now, but there's a character limit. I think it's 1,300 characters, which is not nearly enough for the descriptions I put of information in my videos that are live streaming or whatever. Anyways, and then also the YouTube character limit's 5,000 characters. So that's a lot more characters for me to be able to place information for you to check out. So I also have a podcast that's growing because I'm posting more to it these days. It took like a couple months off, honestly. Anyways, and that can be found, all of this information can be found hellovanessamedia.com/info. You can sign up for a newsletter. I plan to send one out eventually once I get enough people signed up for it, maybe do it quarterly with updates, because there's plenty of updates, that's for sure. But anyways, you can find the podcast all around anywhere that you like podcasts. It's Hello Vanessa Media. You can follow it everywhere that you like to listen to podcasts, and that can be more convenient possibly than watching a video. I don't know, it depends on you. But like I said, there's YouTube channel, and I'm also on LinkedIn, and I try to stream from both places. But YouTube is just a video sharing platform, so the videos typically are going to be more there and more visible than on LinkedIn because just the way the platforms are set up. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get to what I'm covering today. I have playlists on U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs if you're interested. It's a whole saga. This is a part of it. So I'm not going to try to give you any back information. If you've been watching, you will know. If you've been listening, you will know. All right, so for those of you watching, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is the letter I received today from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. It's a survey. I just did a video live stream very recently about the other survey I got. It was an email, and it was asking some questions. I went into detail about that. It was only about like 5 questions, I think, tops. And this one was a lot more in depth. I whited out the information on there because I'm concerned about my privacy too, just as I'm sure you are or not. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and just read over what this letter says. But before I get started, I'll say that I've never seen or heard of the VA giving out surveys ever up until like in paper 2021. And I don't know if I recall one. I think in 2020, I actually recall some phone survey, or maybe they sent me one through email. But I wonder if prior to 2016, if there were any surveys being sent out, because for many, many years, I avoided the VA altogether for good reason. So anyways, just through life circumstance, I happened to have come back to the VA for my own healthcare. So, all right, here goes. Dear veteran, the Veterans Health Administration wants to give you the best care possible, and we need your help. The VHA has partnered with Ipsos, a well-known survey firm, to conduct an important survey. We recently sent you an email with instructions on how to take the survey online. However, you may also receive a survey in the mail within 2 weeks about care that you received recently at the VA. One of the things I don't understand about this is why did they need to mail me this letter that I've got posted over here, as well as an additional like package of survey information. Like that to me seems like a huge waste. And just today I got another piece of mail from the VA, which was it was sent in like in an error. It looks like it wasn't supposed to be sent. And it's like, this is another example of like wasted money. Like, why are you wasting your money on paper and ink that this veteran doesn't want sent? You know what I mean? Like it's, a lot of organizations, VA really frustrates me because of lack of efficiency and a lack of common sense. All right. And so a lot of organizations will ask you, do you want to opt in for electronic communication, like text messages and email, or do you want everything sent to you in paper, or do you want both? Well, I'm definitely someone that would like, for the love of Jesus, please just send it to me through email and text messages. Okay. All right. And I'll give you a fax number too to fax it if you want. But look, I have no interest in this whole snail mail situation whatsoever. And I hate when people will say at the VA, well, some of the people, oh, well, we mailed it to you on this date. And it'll be like some useless letter that said nothing to me, but they feel like they checked their little box off by doing that. That's super annoying to me. All right, moving on. The answers that you give will help us improve care at the VA. The checkbox responses you provide to the survey questions will not be connected with you personally, but combined with the opinions of other veterans before being reported. However, any additional information which you provide, including comments written in the margins, letters, and other enclosures, will be shared with my office unless you indicate that you want your comments to remain confidential and not be shared. So this must be the snail mail version that they're referring to with writing comments in the margins of the survey, because I'm going to get to it here in a second, but there's an electronic version of this, which of course I opted for. And there was no option that I recall, because I took it today, mostly out of curiosity, because I don't really have much faith in the VA to really do much of anything to improve themselves. But I took the survey, the electronic survey, and I don't recall there being anywhere for me to type any comments or to say anything, because if there had been, I would have done it. If you couldn't tell, I'm pretty opinionated. And I've never missed an option to vote in an election, like even the lowest level election ever in my entire adult life. Like I've literally voted in I will vote on the fire hydrant in the area that I live in. That's not a joke. If you give me an opportunity to vote on something, I'm going to vote on it. So, if they would give me an opportunity to write some comments in there, I would have written those comments in there. That's for sure. Because I for sure have some comments to give, but I didn't have the opportunity to do that. So maybe if they send me this paper one, I'm probably going to fill that one out too and send it back to them. All right, but they need to fix that. They need to make the electronic one equal and equivalent to the physical version that they're sending in the mail. And that's not happening so far. All right, if you would like to see the results of the survey for veterans who get care at this facility, you may contact the patient advocate at this facility. This is another problem. Okay, so at the Alexandria, Louisiana Veterans Affairs Medical Center, which is what this survey is specifically addressing right here, okay, because I'm visiting Louisiana right now. The patient advocate office is not very responsive. This is something I brought up in another video. And if you're wondering why I'm bringing this up in videos, several reasons. I'm sick of dealing with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. They've been the bane of my existence and my nemesis since I exited the military many years ago. We're going on 10 years now, okay? It's been one thing after another. I work for the organization, and yes, I'm a veteran, and currently receiving healthcare from the organization. And one thing I've learned about the VA is that they're not really into, specifically their bad management, constructive criticism or feedback of any kind whatsoever. Not from their employees and sure as heck not from the veterans. And so they're not interested in really hearing you. They're just interested in burying whatever it is you say and getting rid of you promptly. This I know for sure. Okay. So I feel that I'm better served, as well as all the other people of the world that have a stake in this, to really just publicly air what I have to say, because I believe that's probably going to get more effective changes than ever trying to communicate with the people at the VA. And I know this because I'm coming up on almost 10 years of trying to work things out with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And if you couldn't tell, it hasn't been working out so great for me, okay? And I'm one of the luckier veterans and former employees. All right, so the patient advocate that I'm supposed to go through, I'm not going to contact them, although I would love to see the survey for veterans who get care at the facility, their accumulated results of that. I'd love to see that. And they should not make it to where you have to jump through extra hoops to see that information. What they should be doing is make it to where it's public so that you can see the numerical data accumulated about veteran care at that facility, so that veterans like myself, other stakeholders, and hell, why not the public, go check it out and see, or at least make it to where it's more accessible. For example, right here, and you can see right there on the screen there's a portion here where it has a website and then a passcode. Why not give a website and a passcode so you can see the results, for the information of how people are rating the facility? But they're not doing that because they don't want to make it easy. Let's be honest. All right. So then it goes on to say in this little gray box, which is right there, it goes on to say, for your convenience, you can also complete the survey online by using the link below. Of course, I did that. Note, online surveys are active for a month, but you can still send in the paper version. Please enter the following URL in the address bar of the internet browser, and then it gives you the link, hyperlink. Your confidential identification number is, your personal password is. Of course, I whited out all that information on the paper, which I'm screen sharing. I shared this really for transparency, just so other people can see like what this survey looks like and what's going on, because I think it's really needed the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, to be completely frank with you. All right, VA values your frank and honest feedback, and God knows I'm happy to give it, to help us improve your care. Participation is voluntary, and your answers to the survey will not affect the health care you receive or your eligibility for VA benefits. Well, it better not. VA staff will not use comments made through this survey against you. Well, my area didn't have any room for commentary, so it's not like it mattered. And to be completely frank with you, like, I'm not holding back anything. So everybody and their mother, as you may have already figured out, gets to know my full opinion. I'm not trying to mask anything over here. All right, if you have specific concerns about the care provided, please contact the patient advocate, who in my experience has not been helpful. If that does not resolve your issue, please contact the director's office and we will do our best to help with your concerns. And all I can say is those people at the director's office must be extremely busy. Let's see. If you have questions about your healthcare benefits or claims, please call the appropriate number below. Gives you, the numbers. Look forward to hearing from you and thank you in advance for your time. And then it's got the name of the director on there, which, if I were the director, I would really want my name on there, honestly, because it's just like, you were just such a... There's a lot of angry people out there when it comes to U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. This I know for sure. So I wouldn't want my name on that paper. Anyways, but yeah, so I filled it out, and I actually really like the sudden surveys that I'm seeing. I briefly received my healthcare years and years and years and years and years ago from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. I mean, brief, super brief. Like, I saw maybe a healthcare provider a couple of times at some point. I can't remember. It's been so many years ago. But I chose to get my routine healthcare elsewhere because I just don't trust the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Quite frankly, I still don't. And I actually have outsourced part of my healthcare elsewhere, which if you look at my VA saga, you can kind of see a little bit about that info. Anyways, I use my experiences to kind of raise attention and awareness about various issues. So let's see what else about that survey. So the surveys. So I'm all for anything that will improve the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs for all parties involved. And when I say all parties, I mean the people that work there so that they can have safe, dignified, respectful working conditions, as well as the people that they're supposed to be serving in the military community. Because, I've worked in healthcare for most of my adult life, as you may or may not know, if you follow me closely at all. And I know that like you can't have a healthcare setting of any kind, mental health care, physical health care, any healthcare at all, if it's not healthy and respectful and dignified and safe for the people working in that environment, and to provide healthy, safe, dignified, respectful care for the people coming into that environment to be worked with, whether that be a virtual environment or that be a physical in-person environment or a hybrid approach, which is both basically. And I know from working at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, that was not the reality of it at all for many people working there. Okay. I was one of them. And I know this organization doesn't like to hold people accountable, and they're well insulated from any justice or form accountability whatsoever. And they also hide behind their lawyers, the Office of General Counsel, OGC, which is the legal arm of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And they basically, despite whatever little propaganda they shove out the VA, go after people, go after whistleblowing employees, defame their character. That was my experience. They enable this behavior when the managers of the VA, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, decide to defame a whistleblowing employee. The Office General Counsel, in my direct experience, enables that. I was one of those employees they did this to. And I was one of the luckier ones. Some of these employees that blow the whistle have their, it's like their lives are blown up in many cases. I've read many instances where people's credentials are being attacked all of a sudden because they reported misconduct or some issue at the VA, and the VA managers are coming after them now to discredit them, to defame them, to destroy their reputations, to destroy their careers, not just at the VA, but anywhere. And my experience was that their lawyers will enable this behavior. That was my direct experience. And the systems, the powers that be, like the Merit System Protection Board, like especially the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the useless Office of the Special Counsel, in my opinion, enable this behavior. It's just enabled, and they kind of look the other direction. I do think it's because that they are very busy and they've got so many complaints. And I think there's so much just burnout probably of these well-paid government paper pushers that they just can't seem to care. The Office of Inspector General, my first time dealing with them was in the last few weeks when I reported some legal violations that I saw in my own facility. And, while they wrote a meaningful letter, which I covered in a different video / podcast, I found that when I thought back about it after I filmed the video / podcast, part of the complaint that I filed was even formally fully addressed by the Office Inspector General of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And I mean, I think honestly, if I'm being really fair here, it's because they really are flooded with too many complaints, and they've just got to really prioritize, which complaint's going to come first, and they got to prioritize. I mean, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs is corrupt to its core, and it has an evil streak. It doesn't treat its employees or telling the truth and providing that excellent patient care with the dignity and the respect that they deserve more often than not. And many military veterans are not being given the assistance that they need. And I believe this because I've been one of them, and I've dealt with this in the years past. And so there's just a lot to that. So anyways, I don't want to be all one-sided. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs isn't all bad, right? I mean, you probably wonder, how can I say that, one of the things I just said? And the reason I say that is because there's exceptionally excellent people that do work for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Some of them are military veterans or community members, meaning caregivers, or maybe their spouses or children or something of military veterans, and are quite invested and do care a lot about military veterans and their outcome. Unfortunately, there's not enough people like that running the VA, and that's really where the problems come in. Also, Congress historically has enabled bad behavior at the VA. And I believe that this kind of continues onward through the civil service system, which is nothing but a problem. All right, but enough about that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the burn pits. All right, so this is a topic that just really haunts me to no end. And there's a really poignant, let me remove that. Poignant video that I saw about, I've been reading a lot about different news articles and listening to podcasts and watching videos about these burn pits. And I've been so touched by the information I've learned, which I just really had no idea about, that I decided to go ahead, and I haven't had a chance to do everything yet, but I went ahead and took the Veterans Affairs Burn Pit Registry link, as well as a website called Burn Pits 360, their website link, and the Burn Pits 360, it's a veteran organization, by the way, their own burn pit registry, which is separate from the government, and I'll explain that in a minute. And I put all those links, and I put them in every single video I've done that's relevant to the military community on my YouTube channel in the description below that video, so that people, when they go into the description, can see right away those links. If they're a veteran or affected family member, they can go to those registries and fill them out if they choose to do so, or share the information with a veteran that's been exposed to burn pit, or that their concern may have been with that veteran or their family, to raise awareness about these issues, so that if their person is at risk for a terminal illness or some other type of illness, that they can get checked out by a doctor sooner than later and possibly save their freaking life and extend their life and improve their quality of life. And so that's basically what I'm trying to do here, by sharing these links and this information, because it's clear that not everybody knows this information that needs to know about it. All right, so on LinkedIn, like I said, I've got I think it's a 1,300 character count, so I can't always share that. But this time on this video, I did share those links. And on my podcast, I've not had a chance to update every single podcast that has to do with the military community with those links. Would take me hours, I'm sure of it. But today I'm going to share this podcast after I finish filming. And I'm going to the video on the podcast. I'm going to include those links there. So if you're listening to this on the podcast or on LinkedIn, well, the links are there today. But if you want to on some other video or whatever, they're on my YouTube channel. So just check that out. All right. So the Burn Pits 360 is, my understanding, an organization founded by a veteran who was affected by the burn pits, and is a very educational website, which I have absolutely studied and really looked through. There's so much information. I haven't looked at every single thing, but I've looked at a lot of it. It does overlap with some of the information I found elsewhere. And they have a burn pit registry where approximately 20,000 veterans have registered for it so far. And what's in, or their family members. And so let me elaborate on that. So basically, Burn Pits 360 has a burn pit registry where a veteran that's exposed to burn pits or their family members can fill it out for them. And the reason, you may ask, why would their family members fill it out for them? Well, if that veteran's terminally ill and is unable to do so, or has passed away from a terminal illness, that's why. And so the Veterans Affairs, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs current burn pit registry does not allow for family members to fill out information pertaining to their family member that's terminally ill and unable to do so, or has passed away, is my understanding. You have to keep in mind, while I have studied this issue in quite a lot, and I don't want to say extensively because there's just so much information out there about this. I have looked at the burn pit registry, information on Burn Pits 360 as well as U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. I was never exposed to burn pits, so I haven't filled them out, and I haven't needed to fill them out for someone else at this time. I just one that's close to me that was exposed to that area where burn pits were. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But I just want to go ahead and show a poignant video that was featured by a local news channel. The news channel is WCAX is what it's called. It was entitled Battle Over Burn Pits. Evidently, that aired on date September 14th, 2018. And I'm just going to show a clip that's going to be about 2 to 3 minutes long. And then I'm going to come back. So let me go ahead and add this in. I'm going to go ahead and play it.
Military honors for Vermont's Deputy Adjutant General.
Brigadier General Michael Heston's leadership, dedication, and service to both state and nation are extraordinary.
A Vermonter who dedicated 32 years to the Vermont National Guard.
Mike, so proud of you. Congratulations.
Brigadier General Michael Heston retired to a room full of well-wishers.
And I could not have been more fortunate to have had this as a final command.
Heston spent much of his life in service, not only through the military, also as a Vermont State Trooper for 26 years. Now the 58-year-old is in the fight of his life.
And I was exposed to it.
Heston deployed 3 times to Afghanistan.
This was my Green Mountain Boy flag that we flew over in condos.
And brought home 2 Bronze Stars. He says he brought something else home, too.
It was an odd form of pancreatic cancer that he had not quite seen before.
A cancer doctors didn't recognize at first. And he says this caused it.
Are you convinced that the burn pits led to your cancer?
Yes.
Open-air burn pits in Afghanistan. He worked 300 yards away from one on his last deployment.
Those burn pits were going 24/7. They just never stopped.
And what was in them?
Everything. The best way to explain it is everything. The smoke rising from the burn pits was so heavy, it would just hang over the base.
And service members breathe that in. Now thousands, including some Vermonters, say it made them sick. Cancers or strange undiagnosed illnesses and growths. Some have died.
It's really much like Agent Orange.
Congressman Peter Welch is pushing to get more vets on the burn pit registry created by Veterans Affairs, the department documenting people who worked near the burn pits and people who are sick. More than 154,000 signed up so far. And Welch is co-sponsoring legislation to make burn pit exposure a disability.
Do we have any actual proof, though, that these burn pits are resulting in military members getting sick?
It's anecdotal evidence now, but what you're seeing is a higher incidence of very aggressive cancers and unusual cancers among military members, service members who were exposed to the burn pits. Our obligation as a society to those service members is to make certain that we include in the cost of the war, the cost of caring for the warrior.
The VA says it reviews burn pit claims on a case-by-case basis. Right now, the department says research doesn't show evidence of long-term health problems, and more studies are needed. A statement to Channel 3 News reads in part, the VA encourages all veterans who feel their military service has affected their health to submit a claim, which will be adjudicated using the latest scientific and medical evidence available.
They started a burn pit registry, so we know we have a problem.
Heston is undergoing aggressive cancer treatment and says these illnesses take a greater toll on family, like his wife June, who waited and worried at home during deployments and has to now too.
I never asked for this. It's 5 years I was away from home. I come back. She still lives there. And she's the one that's picking up the pieces from me. So we got to take care of the family. This is not just affecting the soldier. This affects the whole family. I need the Army to be there for us.
I pressed the U.S. Department of Defense about whether burn pits are still used in war zones. An official tells me one is currently in use in Syria. They are used in temporary situations too, and when there's no other option. A spokesperson says open-air burn pits are a short-term solution during contingency operations where no other alternative is feasible. For the longer term, incinerators, engineered landfills, or other accepted salt.
Okay, so that was general, I believe his. Anyways, so he deployed multiple times, was exposed to burn pits. He ended up with a rare form of cancer. He passed away about 2 months after the interview was done that you just saw. I was trying to skip through some of it because it's a much longer video of like 12 minutes. And I was actually trying to skip through to just his interview is what I was trying to show. But whatever the case, you got to see a lot of kind of the politics of what's going on here with the Veterans Affairs organizations talking. You saw that statement with Department of Defense, what they had to say. You have to keep in mind that this was filmed, that interview, back in 2018. The general passed away that same year. I believe it was in November. And this interview, according to what I recall seeing, was filmed in September of that same year. So just 2 months later, he passed away. Anyways, there's just a lot of people coming forward through the last number of years I wasn't even aware of. They're talking about rare cancers and rare illnesses and unexplained illnesses that doctors, whether inside the VA or outside the VA, can't seem to figure out what on earth they even are exactly. They don't even have a name for some of this stuff. So yeah, there's just a lot to this, but whatever the case, I have included the burn pit links registries that I covered a few minutes earlier in the description of this YouTube video, this LinkedIn live stream. It's going to be included in the podcast description of this as well. And moving forward, I'm going to do my best to make sure it's included in all the media that has to do with the military community. It already is on my YouTube channel. Haven't had a chance to do that on moving forward. I will do that when it comes to LinkedIn, even though the character count's so limited, for live streams. And then I'm going to do my best to include as much as I can in the podcast, but it's going to take a long time probably to get it all included. But yeah, if you know someone that's a military veteran that was exposed to burn pits, this is definitely something that will be of interest to them, or should be. And just really trying to raise awareness and educate people, because if they can get into the doctor sooner than later to get checked out for some of these things, or catch things sooner than later, that could be a very life-saving measure for these people. Okay, so I think that's basically it. I said I was going to cover a Deborah Sampson Act, do like a video on that again. I've decided not to, because the information I thought would be good to cover just doesn't feel like as robust as I thought it would be for like a whole video / podcast. I've already kind of covered that a little bit, or a lot, on a video / podcast I did before. You can check that out if you're interested in it. But that is it for today. So I wish you all the best. I do plan on doing a video about how to amend medical records for a veteran at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. I've just done that myself. I've still got some research I need to do about that though, so I'm not quite ready to do a video on it. I may just do a live stream just because it's a lot easier for me not having to constantly edit stuff as much, and clog up space on my computer. So that's always a good thing. All right, so I wish you all the best. Once again, I have a popular YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe to it and check it out. I also have an awesome podcast. Feel free to follow it anywhere, everywhere that you like to listen to podcasts. And I'm on LinkedIn. So I'll see you later. Wish you the best. Bye.